What is up, Airsofters? Diles46. You're tuned into episode 3 of Diles46 Straight Talk. Let's get right into it. All right, first question from my buddy Ozzy Stretcher. Mr. Oz says, how do you deal with cheaters, Diles? I've seen many different ways of handling the situation. Lighting them up, my personal favorite. Telling an admin, yelling at them, you know the works. And how should these people be punished, banned, penalized, etc.? As myself as a field owner, what I try to do is I tell everybody, if you have any situations with hit calling, please come see an admin first. The biggest thing I always want to avoid is a game stop because people start arguing with each other. When people start arguing with each other on the field, it takes away from the game itself. People start pausing. The game time kind of takes a pause. Players start looking at what's going on the field. And I kind of consider the argument to be a bigger situation than the cheating itself. So in my eyes, I always say, number one, talk to the admin first. If it's a decent admin squad, they're going to take care of it, or referee staff, whatever, they're going to take care of it. How do I deal with it personally? At our field, Intrigue Airsoft, what I do is, if somebody argues about it, come tell me, please. First and foremost, don't start an argument, don't start a curse out match. Come see me. What I will do, and I hate to do it, I always, anytime I talk about doing test shots, I always say I hate to do it, and I do. I think it's cheap, and I think it takes away from it, but unfortunately, when you're checking the honor system, you got to check the honor system, and it's the only way to do it. I do test shots, and it's going to be with a filled legal gun, 350 feet per second or less. And what I'll do is, if I get a complaint, I'll go up on. We have an observation deck on a second story where I can see the entire field. So usually I can get a good line of sight on the complaint, and I will take a shot against them. If they call it, then okay, we're good, no problem, no harm, no foul. If they don't call it, I'll usually send a couple extra at them, just because in the CQB environment, a lot of times you get that adrenaline going, and I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt. When you get running and things like that, you get pumped up. I think a lot of times people, their senses dull down a little bit, and I think that's true. Now, I will say that's one scenario. And if you check it against another scenario, which is what most people talk about, like shruggers, you get hit, you get hit, and then you know what I mean? Your leg gets hit, you pull it in. That's a straight shrug, and that's disgusting, that's unhonorable, and I have no tolerance for that whatsoever. If it's people where they can't feel their hits, I'll give them a test shot. If they look around a couple times, that's a tip off to me that I need to go talk to them. I'll talk to them once. If I have another complaint and I shoot them again, they're off the field. They're going to get out of Intrigue Airsoft. They're going to be asked to leave for the day. And that's how I deal with it. How they should be punished, penalized, I mean, that's pretty much it. I ask them to leave. Airsoft is a pretty close-knit community, so I think once you hear about somebody cheating, word travels pretty fast, depending on, the guy that wears the multicam or the guy that wears, the ACUs or whatever. The descriptions are pretty detailed, so if you think that you can come into Airsoft and start cheating and get away with it, think twice, because it's a really close-knit community for sure. All right, William Leahy asks, I am from the Kansas City area, and I was wondering if Intrigue Airsoft is a good place for beginners to play and have a good experience. Also, what gear do you recommend for beginners to get? Intrigue Airsoft, it's a little more in your face, a little more intense. A lot of times you're going to see these outdoor fields where it's a little more laid back. You can stay out of the fight. You don't got to be as aggressive and get up in people's faces. When you get into a CQB environment, it's a little more demanding that you are a little more aggressive for sure, a little more dynamic. You need to be on your toes a little bit more. However, at Intrigue Airsoft, the way we have the layout of the field is we try to cater to newer players and people that really are aggressive and want to get into people's faces. There's opportunities for you to hang out in, such as the hallway and the green room, things like that. And you can kind of hang back and check out some of my other videos if you want to know what I'm talking about. You can kind of hang back and shoot through the windows. There's some buildings in the back you can kind of hang out. And so what I'm getting at is, if you want to camp, you can, for sure. And I'm not saying camping is a bad thing, especially if you're new and you're trying to get a feel for the game. Absolutely. Is Intrigue Airsoft... Tag along with a buddy, absolutely. Another good option is to tag along with a buddy. That's always going to be a good icebreaker. You come alone, it is a little intimidating for sure. Is it a good place for beginners? I'd say so. It depends on what you really want to get into. Woodland game and close quarters environment games are two totally different animals. So, you know, when you're playing out in the woods, you got to know your field craft, you got to know how to walk, you know, you got to know how to operate in the woods, things like that. And you got to have the equipment and weaponry that's going to assist you in being efficient at that. And CQB, it's the same thing. You're going to have the weapons and gear that's going to assist you in that as well. So, is it for beginners? I think it's up to the player to interpret it. If you want to play CQB, then determine you want to play CQB. But I would always recommend that you try both for sure, because both are a lot of fun. Myself, I'm a little bit spoiled. I do like my CQB, not gonna lie. Thomas Milner. Hey Diles, can my Black Ops M4 Viper work as an XM177E2 or Car 15 for a Vietnam Airsoft game? Thanks. I answered him back on the comments in that question on episode 2. You know, here's the thing with Airsoft, with these reenactment games. If you're not like full-time dedicated to any period correct Airsoft, and you need an AR version, you know, AR replica to replicate like a Vietnam gun in this case, yeah, absolutely, man. An M4, keep that full carry handle on there. Yeah, man, it's just as good. There's minor differences, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're only going to have the purist argue against you, but yeah, absolutely, man. Your Black Ops will work. Obviously, it's going to have the A3 upper with the full rail on top, the removable carry handle. It's going to have the A2 barrel assembly with the ridges in it for the, you know, connecting your M203s and all that stuff. But outside of that, without going into detail, an M4 is an M4 is an M4. And if that'll get you by, then yeah, absolutely, use an M4 for a Car 15, for XM177E2, XM177E1, Car 15, Stoner, bleep, anything like that. It'll all work. Depends on how hardcore you want to be. Alright guys, and that wraps up episode 3 of Diles46 Straight Talk. Keep these questions coming. I really appreciate the engagement you guys are giving me, and the support with the comments, the views and likes, shares, all that stuff. Subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and keep those questions coming. Make sure you put quote-unquote question and shoot me your next question, and hopefully I'll get to it on Diles46 Straight Talk episode 4. Thanks for watching, guys.